Hi guys, so the British Poultry Council has responded to Boris Johnson's statement on the cost of a living crisis, where he said that the crazy price of chicken needed to be dealt with. But of course the Prime Minister didn't explain the core problem here. So while the Tories will attempt to pin blame on global energy prices, the body representing British growers and producers said something else is to blame. The BPC, or the British Poultry Council, said that post-Brexit barriers to trade and a lack of skilled workers is what's driving rising production costs. A spokesman for the organisation said that it is everything, including costs of water, labour, energy and feed are all going up. Ongoing Brexit pressures along with trade barriers, shipping delays for machinery and a skills shortage when it comes to vets and truck drivers all adds a cost that has to be passed on to the consumer. Last year I covered in a video how the biggest producers of chicken were warning that 2022 will see price rises, and that's exactly what's happening. Two Sisters, the largest chicken producer in the United Kingdom, is now predicting a rise of 15% will be needed just to keep the industry's head above water. The BPC said that Boris Johnson's government had repeatedly failed to acknowledge the need for a fair system to help British producers since Brexit. It said members had lost £85 million in chicken exports to the EU last year because of a lack of controls on the UK side. The industry has been pressing the government to hammer out a deal with the EU on both sanitary and phytosanitary checks, which would see controls being imposed on produce coming in from the EU. However, this would mean further delays and could be embarrassing for the Tories. A spokesperson for the BPC was extremely harsh in his criticism of the government, saying, "Mr. Johnson remarked on the insane position people find themselves in the midst of this crisis, while failing to acknowledge the insanity currently wrapped up in blatantly unfair EU-UK trade. Members will continue to face the burdens, costs and red tape that hinder fair competition until October 2023. Jacob Rees-Mogg has recently stated that checks on goods arriving from the EU have been postponed as it would cost businesses up to £1 billion. Jacob Rees-Mogg, the Brexit Opportunities Minister, had previously claimed that soaring food prices had nothing to do with Brexit. Then he admitted post-Brexit import checks planned for July would have seen price rises at supermarkets, and he described post-Brexit red tape as an act of self-harm. Now, I think it's important to understand the difference between the body representing the industry and the chicken farmers themselves. So if we look at this article, which I'll leave a link in the description of this video too, it points out that while the organisation that represents poultry farmers suggested back in 2016 to its members that it would be better for the industry if Britain stayed in the EU. However, a majority of chicken farmers in Britain supported leave. Farmers in general supported Brexit 58% to 31%, and when it came to those in the poultry sector, it was even more stark. 80% wanted out of the EU. One poultry farmer in the article was quoted as saying, "We need to have the bottle to leave the EU and stop being governed by people who have not been elected, certainly not by us. This government is undoubtedly not very interested in agriculture, but that should not let us be frightened into retaining the status quo. Let's not blame the organisation, but sadly the farmers. Their Brexit chickens are coming home to roost." Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.